Hi there, my name is Kim Berkley. I'm one of the authors of the Speaking Out About Self-Injury blog over on HealthyPlace, and today I wanted to share some tips for finding some self-harm prevention exercises that will work for you. Now, my first tip is a pretty obvious one, but it still needs to be said. If at all possible, it is best to work through this process with a therapist or another mental health professional. The reason for this is that somebody with that kind of expertise and that kind of experience will know all of the options at your disposal, and they'll be able to help you work through that list a little bit more effectively and find solutions hopefully a little bit more quickly than you might on your own. My next tip is to start small. The last thing you want to do is overwhelm yourself right away by trying to take on too many different new tasks, trying to completely change your life or your lifestyle, trying to get better, because overwhelming yourself and stressing yourself out is only going to make the situation worse, and it's going to make it harder to stick to anything that might have otherwise worked for you. So instead of trying to try everything all at once, try and start with just one or two things and work your way from there. My next tip is to start with whatever sounds accessible to you. This might mean starting with something that sounds most interesting to you, like journaling or art therapy, something that sounds a little bit fun even and that you're more likely to stick with. Or it might just mean picking whatever sounds easiest. Maybe you're not ready for a 30-minute yoga session yet, but you might be ready to start with a breathing exercise that takes only 1 or 2 minutes at a time. Starting small like this makes it easier to step up from there. It gives you a good starting place where you won't feel overwhelmed, you won't get discouraged right away, and you can always build up from there if you need to. My next tip is to try and be a little bit methodical about this. So I'm not saying that you need to go out and get a binder and color code it and do all these things. You don't need to be that organized unless you really want to. But you do need to kind of take things one step at a time, give each exercise some time and some practice to see how it goes before you make any decisions. Sometimes you just need to get used to something before you can really determine whether it's helping you or not. And to, keep a list, maybe cross it off as you go. And that is actually my last and final tip for this video, and that's to keep a record. This ties into being methodical. And again, you don't need to be very in-depth about this unless you want to, but the main point is to have some kind of record that you can refer back to later when you need to look back and see whether things have been working or not. It's easy to want to rely on your memory, but the truth is, even if you have a very good memory, your memory isn't perfect. We tend to distort things over time. Sometimes we remember things being better than they were, but in a case like this, the more likely thing is that you'll remember things being worse than they were. We tend to overemphasize negative experiences in our memory, and we tend to be very wary of repeating them. So, for example, you might be trying a breathing exercise that is working pretty well for you, but maybe one time it doesn't. That time is going to stick out a lot more than the 20 other times that maybe it helped you. If you just rely on your memory, you might not have a very clear picture of how things are going. But if you have a record, whether it's a journal, just a crossed off list of things that you've been through, maybe a little checkbox thing, or something more elaborate like an actual record of everything you've done, when you've done it, things like that, whatever it is, as long as it's something concrete and it's something that you do very soon after you try an exercise, when you look back later, you'll have a much clearer picture of how things went, what's working, what's not working, and you can make better decisions for moving forward from there. So yeah, I hope that helps. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, as always, leave a comment on the blog and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Take care.